Hello again, everyone. I thought I would start with a little humor today. Um, just trying to make it to April 30th. I'm hoping we're out of the woods by then, but I'm kind of worried that we may not be. And if you're like me, I don't know if you are. I love my house, but I'm getting a little tired of the four walls and just walking around the yard and go to the grocery store only when it's absolutely necessary. So I've not been many places or doing anything at all. But I do hope this finds you healthy and happy and as much as you can be and staying safe. So let's pick up where we left off, I do believe. And talking about, we're talking about comprehension. And remember, we're talking about comprehension with the littles. And that is always at a premium. Reading comprehension with the little ones is always a tough nut to crack for multiple reasons we've already talked about. Um, None the least of which is they're spending the vast majority of their cognitive energy on sounding out words instead of making meaning out of what they're reading. So, one of the strategies to use are graphic organizers, and for whatever reason, mapping and webbing are not put into the category by everyone of graphic organizers, but that's exactly what they are. Graphic organizers are using whatever you have in a way that graphs things, organizes things in a certain way, whether it's a pie chart or a KWL, which we'll talk about here in a minute, or some of these other pieces. It's a graphic representation of information, and it helps. The mapping and webbing pieces help students to see how words and ideas are related to each other. If you remember back to the 409 509 class last semester, when we got to the end, we used a web to map out a unit. You put a big idea in the middle, and then it gets out smaller and it gets smaller still and smaller and smaller. That's what they're talking about here. If you're using words, if you're using ideas that are generated from from the stories that you're reading and that you're discussing, it is so very important with the little ones that we discuss, that we don't just read a story and put it back on the shelf or stick it back in our desk. We discuss it, we work with it, we play with it, we read it again. Just one single read is not enough. We have to show them how these ideas and words are interrelated. When we web, these strategies build on children's prior knowledge. Well, the only way they can build on that prior knowledge is if we have activated that knowledge first. We have to activate that background knowledge. You have to. They help the child retrieve what is known about a topic and use the information in reading and listening to the text to build on that knowledge and add more knowledge. So as they grow in age and grade, they have more knowledge about certain things added to those little imaginary file folders in their head that we can open up and that they can access. When we're talking about KWLs, we talked about KWLs, I think, a little bit, what we know, what we want to know, what we've learned. You can do KWLs in various and sundry ways. They are mainly used, however, with expository text. They do not show what we call story grammar. KWLs are not they don't show main characters, setting, problem, solution. That's called story grammar. KWLs show what we know about a topic. We're asking, what do we know about a topic? In the K column, when you fill in the K column, I think we've already talked about this, if I remember back that far, that when we talk about the K column and we put in what we already know, we're activating background knowledge and we're dicing into their vocabulary knowledge. That column right there tells us what we already know about a topic and what we need to do. The W part, when we ask the questions, what do we want to know about something? What do we think we want to know? It helps set the purposes for reading and to direct their thinking. It encourages sharing their ideas. So a KWL does so many things. If a child gives you some incorrect information in the K part, you're going to write it down anyway. Because then in the W part, you can come back and say, well, I wonder about that. Let's check that out. What do we think we already know about this? And then do some research or see if it's going to come up in the story and find out. Encourage the sharing of ideas. Don't stomp on them. Make sure that whatever they tell you for the K column, you put in there. Write it down, even if it's wrong. If it's wrong, it gives you an idea of what they're thinking and how they're thinking. The W column gives you the opportunity to adjust that thinking and fix that incorrect information that before it gets put into that file folder. When we use Venn diagrams help compare and contrast 2 or 3 concepts in a text. Now, if you're just going to compare 2 things or contrast 2 things, you're going to use what's called a T chart. It's just a capital T, and you put information on one side for one thing, information on the other side for the other thing. You either compare or contrast. If you want to do both, you use a Venn diagram. Now, I want to go back here just for a moment to Venn diagrams. Hello, there we go. Venn diagrams are traditionally 2 interlocking circles. You don't have to make them circles. You can use anything as long as they lap over something. As long as they lap over a piece in the middle or in the side or on the bottom or on the top. You don't have to use 2 circles. So for instance, if you're using the 3 pigs, the 3 little story of the 3 little pigs, you could have a pig's face and a wolf's face. As long as they cross over somewhere, you can use those to compare and contrast the pigs and the wolf or whatever you want to do. So when we do some of those things, then we summarize and retell. To summarize a text provides the teacher with a unique window in the comprehension of the story. But one of the things that you will find when you have children summarize a text, you're going to have children who can really summarize, and you're going to have children who surface level summarize. In other words, you're going to have kids who really dig deep into the story and can remember lots and lots and lots of things. And you're going to have some who will say, well, so and so and did this. And that'll be the end of it. And then you're going to have another one say, this person did this and this person did that. And then this happened. And then while this was happening, this happened. And because this happened, this happened. That gives you an idea of their thought processes and how deep they're thinking. The better one understands, the better one is able to articulate the understanding. It's not maybe that they don't understand if they're not summarizing deeply. It's that they haven't been, you haven't given them the scaffolding, the modeling, or whatever they need to really dig into that text. Perhaps it's the questioning that you're doing. Your questions aren't deep enough. They're not solid enough. They're not thought-provoking enough. We have to query down with those questions. If we just surface level question, we're going to get surface level answers. If we query down like we're going down and digging a hole down deeper and deeper and deeper, we're going to get much deeper thought processes, and we'll teach the kids how to do that. We need to encourage a listener or a reader to retell or rewrite a story, which offers active participation in the literacy experience, helps develop language structures, comprehension, sense of story structure. We have to get our kids to write as well as to read. We have to balance our literacy in that way. We need to have balanced literacy. If we are teaching phonics, which we need to do, we also need to be teaching the cueing systems that go into context clues. If we are having children read, we need to have them write. If we're having them listen to a story being read, we need to have them read the story as well. We need to balance our literacy in that manner, summarizing is a really tricky thing to teach because it depends on how deeply the kids are going to go into the story and into the retelling. Retelling is not an easy task, but they can improve with practice. We have to teach them, we have to model for them, and we have to scaffold for them what we want in the retelling. If we are looking for surface level retelling, that's what we're going to get. If we need them to dig deeper into the retelling, if we need them to sequence a story, however we need them to do it, we have to model for those children, not only for the children who are young and who are not solid readers yet, but also for those children for whom learning is a challenge. Because summarizing involves recall and it involves memory. They have to be able to pull that back up. Some kids can do that, some kids can't. They get it in their short term memory, but there is no hook. We give them no hook for retrieval from their long term memory. And when you start reading a story, yes, your story may only be 5 or 6 pages long. For you, it's no big deal. For them, it's a mountain. We have to chop that mountain down for them. To help children develop the practice of retelling, let them know before they read or listen to a story or a text that they're going to be asked to retell it or to rewrite it. We need to set the purpose up front so they know what to listen for and they know what you are asking of them. Now, fluency. Fluency is the big boy because fluency leads to everything else, or it should. Too often in the schools, fluency has been defined at this point as how fast a kid can read something. Well, reading quickly is okay, but reading quickly with no comprehension is not okay. Then you're just barking at the print or calling the words. Fluency is a combination of accuracy in reading, that you are reading the words accurately. You're reading the words automatically. Automaticity, I think we've talked about this word. Automaticity, if you type that into a Word document, it's going to give you red squiggles. Automaticity is used in reading, that you automatically decode the words that you're automatically reading. Prosody. Prosody goes back to that sentence that I gave you and asked what the verb was. The old man, the boat. What's the verb? Well, the verb is man, because it's used in a different way, but we have to use all of our cueing systems to figure that out. There's also the speed at which one reads. How fast are you reading? Can you read quickly, but still with accuracy? And the biggest piece of fluency that's not here at this point, which we will get to in the content reading, is comprehension. Or if you're reading, no matter how fast you're reading, doesn't matter if you're not understanding. More simply, a child who reads fluently is able to decode context automatically and accurately, which leads or is supposed to lead to comprehension. Is that going to happen with most first graders? No. Is it going to happen with the vast majority of second graders? No. But you build on that. You want them to be fluent, which is why you do repeated readings. You read and then you read it again and you read it again and you read it again. Not all in succession, but after you've talked about it, after you've found some of the stumbling blocks and you've helped them through it. Comprehension is going to happen if students are fluent. Now, I'm going to stop right there and we're going to pick up with this in just a moment with the next video because I want to continue this discussion on fluency and I'm going to run out of time. So until I talk to you again, I hope this finds you healthy and happy. Wash your hands, use your hand sanitizer, and don't hoard the toilet paper. Talk to you in a little bit.